Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. Welcome back to the Dean Rogers Show. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Sam Primm. What's up, Sam?
How you doing, man? I bet I'm the only guest that you've ever said is special, right?
The only one, actually. Yeah, I feel kind of bad now for the other guests because I have not said special. So, yeah, you are very special in many
Thank-
ways.
yes, very many ways. Thank you.
So I'm excited, dude. I'm stoked to dive in. I've been watching you on social media forever. We just met each other in person recently, so I'm stoked to dive in. For those that don't know Sam, the highlight reel for him is he owns $46 million in rental properties without using any of his own money. So we're definitely going to talk about that. I love that too. That's how I've acquired my real estate as well. He has a house flipping company that does 300 houses a year. That's no small feat. That's big time stuff right there, guys. So there's already a lot going on. You have 2.7 million followers on social media. The reach that you have is tremendous. And you also have 1,500 students that own $200 million plus in real estate. So incredible. I'm sure it was super easy to do all that too. You got just pressed a couple buttons and it all worked out. For those of you guys that want to connect with Sam, you guys can find him on social media, Sam Faster Freedom. You guys can check him out, fasterfreedom.com. Woo, boy. Okay, that's a highlight reel right there, dude. You got me beat. So I'm gonna throw my hands up and I'm gonna be soaking up as much as I can. Tell me where this all started, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much, my man. It doesn't have the most exciting beginnings, which I used to kind of shy away from, right? I don't have this like cool childhood story or this rags to riches story or even like grew up in entrepreneurial household story. So I don't have that. You're not going to make a movie about my childhood or how this all got started. So I kind of would gloss over that when people ask me that question. But the more I started thinking about it and the more I started articulating it, that's very powerful. Like I didn't have a leg up. I'm like as normal as it gets. Grew up in the Midwest, lower middle class, one pair of tennis shoes a year the week before school, pack your lunch to school every day to save money, didn't want for anything, but didn't have a lot. And I've been able to do some pretty cool stuff like you just said. So I think my normalcy is exciting for people that are normal that want to achieve some really cool stuff. By the definition of normal, right? I mean, that means probably, I don't know the exact definition, but it means most people have that similar type of upbringing or similar type of lifestyle. So the fact that I didn't have a leg up or inherit money or didn't have some crazy life event that altered me and, didn't have to overcome addiction or anything. I'm just normal and boring. And I've done some pretty cool stuff. So I think that should be encouraging to most people. So I wanted to get that out of the way first. But in general, how it started, again, pretty normal and boring. So I went to high school, played sports growing up, had that fun competitiveness and all that cool stuff. Went to college, did the party thing, did the good grades thing, had fun thing, and then did the real world and got a job. And a couple years into that job, I was doing okay, making decent money, but kind of wanted a little bit more. I don't know if it was the competitiveness that went away. Obviously, you have that. You play professional sports, but that competitive or if it was just getting kind of bored and hitting glass ceilings, or if it was, like some vanity, like I should be doing more with my life. I don't know what it was, but I decided to start dabbling into side hustles, and real estate just made the most sense to me. My buddy sent me Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Again, very cliche, normal, but I read that and that kind of opened my eyes up. And that was about 2012, 13 timeframe. And I started investing in real estate in 2014, very slowly, very methodically. And then it kind of just has grown and snowballed from there. So we can kind of break it out from there, but that's the general boring but relatable Genesis story.
Yeah. Dude, what I love about what you said, you shied away from it. I honestly shied away from my story for a long time too, because although I was at the pinnacle and was, playing in the NFL, professional football, as part of my story, I can't remember if we've talked about it or not, like I walked away from all of that and really had to start completely over from scratch. Like Not, oh, well, I got a bunch of money. I guess I'll figure out what I want to do. It's like, no, I got to rub pennies together now. And that for me was a big, huge, like, ego hit. It was very humbling. It was like an experience that was really tough. And you naturally want to be all right. You naturally want to be in a good spot. So to tell somebody you're hurting and you're struggling, you kind of shy away from that. You want to say that you've done all these great things. So I appreciate you sharing that because, a lot of people have the limiting belief that in order to have massive success, you've got to come from a rich uncle, or you've got to come from entrepreneur roots, or you got to have all these great connections, or you had to have just struck it big and got lucky. I'd have to argue that your story is probably similar to mine, that you just had to work your butt off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 1,000%. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, there comes a certain point where you just roll up your sleeves and get it done. And that gets you to a certain point, and that got me to a certain point because I was not, your mindset, meditate and get up and journal and all that crap. I still don't do that, but I was like opposite of like mindset, I'll work you. I don't care if you have a stronger mindset than me. And that probably has gotten you to where you're at, and it got me to where I was at, just rolling up your sleeves. But then, and I've noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, you get to get to that next level, you have to mix in a few other things than just hard work. But hard work can get you a long way, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So did you dabble in a bunch of other side hustles too, or did you just kind of land on real estate first? Because that was my story. Like, I landed on real estate first, and I thank God that's the first side hustle I started with. But did you have any other side hustles you tried?
Yeah, a little bit. So in college, me and my buddy Lucas, who is, 50-50 owners with me and everything I just mentioned, we do everything together still. But in college, we started a painting business. So we painted, houses and fences and decks and things like that. Budget painting, you name it. We painted on a budget was our slogan. And we just put out those bandit signs, had them made, put them out. And for, 5 years for me and 6 years for him in college. We worked every summer and made decent money and got to have fun and go out and, come home for college and, hang out with our friends from high school and party a little bit and have fun. And then, get up and work on our own schedule. We worked hard, but we were able to be paint a fence, put it that way. So we were able to, we did that a little bit. We tried becoming bookies in college a little bit, earmuffs for anybody that wants to try that. So we tried that for a little while. We tried to sell some other things. I'll leave it that for a little while. So we've tried a few different things, and that was nothing we ever really took that seriously. But the first thing that I had a big boy job. I was married. I just got married at the time when we started. No kiddos yet. But when I was like in the real world, the only side hustle that I really tried was real estate. Rich Dad Poor Dad opened my eyes to that. And I just remember seeing the stat, and you've heard it. I've heard it. I said it a million times. 90% of millionaires are created through real estate. So I don't know that everybody understands that starting your own business outside of that, Forex, crypto, stock market, mutual funds, IRAs, 401k, saving your money, all of that combined makes up 10%. The other 90% is real estate. So I just stuck to that. Like, this is probably the path of least resistance. Barrier of entry can be very low to get into. And you don't have to be super smart. I don't have to be like a tech wizard to start an app to do it. So it just made most sense and bared fruit for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, well, tell me, like, as you go through your journey, kind of the early years, what were some of your biggest struggles or challenges that you faced early on, if you had any big ones?
Yeah, I think it's just general ones that most people go through, but finding the money, finding the deals, having a few deals go south a little bit early, making me feel uncomfortable with, hey, do we even pursue this? Like, I just did a presentation on this and I completely forgot about this. Maybe because I'm an idiot, or maybe because people forget, like, things that they sometimes struggle with. On my very first deal, we looked at 36 properties in person. So I went and looked. This was 2014. I didn't know what I was doing then. But 2014, we probably analyzed, and I say we, that's Luke's and I, we probably analyzed 100 properties, like just ran numbers on. But we visited 36 properties and made offers on 36 properties before we got our very first one. I'd like to say that's like persistence beats resistance and hard work. Probably more ignorance and stupidity. But anyways, we finally got that first one. So that was like, I feel like a lot of people would stop at that point. And we had 21 banks tell us no when we went to refinance. Again, we went to like Bank of America and US Bank at first, and we like narrowed down to these small local banks or credit unions and finally talked to the right bank, but we didn't know what we were doing. So we had those very, very inefficient struggles to get your very first deal done. And our very first deal, we borrowed like $99,000 from our private lender that we ended up finding that took us forever to find. And we owed him $104,000, but we only got $100,000 back from the bank. So we were $4,000 shy on our very first deal. Luckily, we had another deal already in the works with this private lender. We had a great relationship. He, saw how hard we were working and saw that we understood the process at least and were going to be successful. And the other deal that we had was like a grand slam of a deal. So he allowed us to roll the interest into that deal and we gave him a little bit of an extra kicker. So anyways, we made it work. The point was that first deal was not smooth, but we stuck with it and to round out and get into some numbers and X's and O's like we mentioned. So that first deal, like I said, we $100,000 mortgage on it. It was worth $125,000. So $25,000 equity, very first deal. That's awesome. That's cool. A lot of hard work, not super sexy, especially when you're splitting it two ways. I own 50% of it. However, we refinanced that in 2015 at the beginning of the year. Right now, that house is worth $225,000 and we owe $75,000. So now there's $150,000 of equity. That gets a little bit more exciting in 8 years on a house we bought without using any of our own money, and we get tax come from appreciation. Now we've done more than that since then, but that just shows the power of one deal in 8 years. I think the average 401k in this entire country, the average is like 145 or something. So that one property's got more in it than the average 401k that you have to pay into and don't have control over of. So we can get into some way. I mean, we screwed up a ton, especially at first, but that was the first thing that came to my mind, especially because I just did a presentation on it. That first deal was hard, but not knowing any better, we just kind of kept pushing through.
Yeah. The first deal for most people was hard. I know the first deal I had obstacles I had to overcome, but persevered, got it done. My first deal was a wholesale deal. Yours was a rental property. My first flip, I lost money, and not a little bit of money, like $100,000.
You really screwed that one up.
I really screwed that one up. There's a whole story to that, but for you had to navigate some things that were probably uncomfortable. You had to, have conversations with other people and figure out a solution. Those early on things you had to navigate, I'm sure, helped you get more confidence to then go do it again, right, and build from there. So you do that first deal. You were persistent. You overcame the resistance, right? I know that first deal, the proof of concept, is such an important part for people to have that breakthrough. What took you on to the massive success of doing 300 houses a year? I mean, what had to take place? What were the things you had to put in place, the people you had to put in place? How did you grow to that level?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think initially just building that confidence and my first goal was to buy one rental property a year for 10 years. So I have 10 rental properties at the end of 10 years and then pay them down. So that's a cool goal. At the time, it felt insurmountable. But that was our first goal. Then we saw that and started to see some success and build upon that. And the goal was to replace our tried that. That's a very inefficient and not realistic way to do it. Buying rentals how we do with none of our own money, $200, $300, $400 a month cash flow. That's going to take a lot of cash flow to replace your living in replace your expenses, potentially income on top of that. So that's why we were so aggressive at first was, hey, let's buy as many rentals as we can to replace our income. And year and a half, 2 years in, we're like, we bought a lot of rentals and we're not even close to replacing our income. So that's when we started mixing in the active income with the passive income through real estate. We had W-2 jobs, was helped make us bankable, but then we started to do a little bit of wholesaling. We didn't know what wholesaling was, but got a property, got a couple crews busy, and we're doing this was probably our second year. We were probably doing maybe, 3 projects at a time or something like that. We had maybe 10 rentals or something like that at the time. And we're like, we can't take this one down. So let's wholesale and make a little bit of money. And then we ended up listing one that we over rehabbed and made decent money on. So we just kind of stumbled into having other streams of income that were more active, via wholesaling and actually flipping. Because makes all the sense in the world. You're looking for distressed properties, keep some as rentals, flip some, wholesale some, and then you got some active income streams and passive income streams and tax benefits. And that is something that I'll quit my job over, because by that time I was making really good money. I was making like $250,000 a year at my W-2 job in Missouri, which is more money than I thought I'd be making when I was 65 years old. And I enjoyed it to a certain degree. I didn't love it, but I liked it. So it was one of those things where, I had to see some proof of concept and had to see some pipeline some deals in the pipeline, see some equity in properties before I was, willing to quit that job. I didn't quit that job willy-nilly. So I think just building that confidence, and then in order to replace that high level income, which looking back, that was probably a good thing. I wasn't trying to replace 50 grand. I was probably trying to replace 250 grand. It required me to hire people and offboard some responsibilities and think bigger and create systems and create processes and create a company that then I could then step into. So that was the big thing for me, was getting comfortable enough to quit that really, a well-paying job. And that kind of is what led to the growth. And then I started to see having team members and helping them and growing a team and the struggles and the pain and the awesomeness and the suckiness of owning a company and having team members and growing and struggling. I got addicted to that. And that's, I think, what ultimately made me quit my job and want to scale.
Yeah. Tell me how important, so you mentioned there, in order for you to grow, you decided you needed to get into the active income side of it. How important would you say it is for you in order to grow your passive income, your, rental portfolio, in order to grow that to scale or even grow it at all? How important is it to have that active income aspect to support or fund that side of it?
Yeah, it's extremely important. I think for most people, it's going to be that W-2 job for a while. But when that W-2 job goes away, you're going to need some active income beyond rental income if you want to continue to scale and continue to buy real estate and continue to grow. Because it's stupid, but a bank would rather see a $90,000 W-2 income than a $150,000 entrepreneur income, based on, a year or two of actually work. So that W-2, when you step away from that W-2 job, you better have some equity and you better have some income streams that are producing income at a consistent basis if you want to continue to buy rentals and continue to grow and continue to scale. We have 3 main banks that we work with. And I remember one of them was like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Y'all just quit your good jobs and are, taking a chance on yourself and going all in on being entrepreneurs. Another was like all in on it. Another bank was kind of like in the middle, like, let's kind of wait and see. And then quickly we continued to grow and scale and do things the right way. And we got all the banks on board, but it is something to be aware of. You need that active income. And, to me, cash flow from rentals, that's, even if it's, you're actively taking it, it's still passive. It's still passive in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I have found it to be extremely important to have the active income side going if you want to grow your rentals, because otherwise, what money are you going to use to fund buying more rentals? If you think it's going to be your passive income, which is the dream, right? The dream is, I'm going to quit my job once I get a certain amount of passive income. But like you said, especially when you're leveraging other people's money and using little to none of your own to buy real estate, which is an incredible, like, eighth wonder of the world, right? And everybody should be doing. The $200, $300, $400 worth of cash flow, you need a lot of those to really add up. And the reality that I like to always tell people, and I'm sure you do the same, is, look, that's great, but how big is your reserves as well? Because you got an AC that goes out, you got a tenant that moves out, and you need to make it rent ready. There could be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 you got to pony up for that. And if you don't have the active income side going, then you might kind of struggle through some of those obstacles that pop up,
For sure. And I tell people, I don't think it's responsible to try to live off that income. Like you said, if you have that active income on the side, you can tap into that if you need to. But if you're taking your $200, $300, $400 a month per door aside and setting it in an account for retained earnings and taxes and all the things you're going to need it for, there's a good chance that when that stuff happens, you'll just be able to dip into that account. You won't even have to dip into the active account. You can, it's great to have it, but if you're not touching that rental income, then you're much more likely to not have to dig into the active income at all. And if you do, maybe it'll be less. Like I still haven't taken a dime from my rental positive cash flow. Now I've taken money from refinances and equity and things like that and paid off houses and pocketed it. But like the actual cash flow I get from my rental portfolio, I still have yet to take a disbursement from that.
Yeah. Same here. We leave it there. We let the bank account grow. There's plenty of expenses and things that pop up that take that money anyway. So it's not like it's just stacking and there's too much of it. But and then as you have more properties that you want to buy and you have repairs and expenses, you want to get those updated and remodeled, surely, you'll use funds for that as well. So no, that's important. I got a question for you. So when I think a lot of people are looking for that financial freedom and they're looking to break free from the W-2 job, how much money do you think someone should have in the bank as reserves as they look to make that move?
Yeah, I think that depends on a few factors. I think one of them would be, are you actively getting active income? Like when I quit my job, we had 3 flips we were working on, and we had a couple wholesales we were working on. So I knew at least for a little while, and then if you're just doing rentals and you have no active income flips or wholesales in the pipeline, I would tell people they need maybe 6 months worth of actual like bare bones living reserves. So I would say that would be my decent number to have. You have 6 months worth of living reserves, not like going on vacations and buying TVs and redoing kitchens at your personal house, but just like general living reserves, 6 months worth of that. Always probably, but I would be a little bit more lenient on that if you got several deals in the pipeline that there's plenty of meat on the bone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. The reserves thing is a real thing because, even if you have deal flow going, it's not always like a guaranteed thing, So you gotta be prepared. You gotta be smart with your money there. So I always tell my own personal experience, and it sounds like it was the same for you. I'm not a big believer in burning the boats just because that wasn't my personal experience. For some people and some good friends of mine, they burned the boats and that's what worked for them. But I think some people get scared about, should I burn the boat? Should I not? Tell me what I should do. And I say, you just got to find what works for you. For me, that W-2 job was the stable platform for me to grow upon. And I needed that. I definitely needed that at that time. So for me, it sounds like it was kind of the same for you.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure.
So how do you go from, your year 2, you've got a handful of these active deals going now, you've got about 10 rentals or so at the time. How do you go to $46 million in rentals that you own without using any of your own money? What's the trajectory there? I mean, is it like slow and steady and then hockey stick and you just had some killer years? Or did you just start taking some chunks down? Like what was that path?
Yeah, it was pretty, it wasn't quite the hockey stick, but maybe it kind of was. I would say it was a combination of things. Once I quit my job. So in 2018, I quit my job and I started, like I said, 2014, but really kind of 2015, because that's when we refinanced and started doing other deals. So at that point, 2018 probably had 25 rentals maybe and done, several flips and a handful of wholesales. And that was 10, 15 hours a week on the side, evenings, weekends, having phone calls with Lucas during the day and just trying to figure it all out. And we're like, what happens if we can now spend 60 to 70 hours a week on this? Like general just rule of scaling and volume, we should be able to grow substantially. And that's kind of what we did. It was a few different things. It was, we bought a 28 pack of houses. We bought a 42 pack of houses. We bought six apartment complexes, a 29 unit, a 32 unit, three, four, five, six, $7 million chunks at a time with those apartment complexes. But then also we really ramped up that active income, that flipping company, where we have right now, we have six full-time acquisitions reps. We have a marketing person. We have a business analyst. We have a rehab, crew, contract to close. This is like a legitimate, that company has 23 or 24 employees. So that's like a machine that's just buying single families every single day almost. And the ones that really make sense as rentals, we just kind of cherry pick. You're not going to grow as quickly doing one-off BRRRR deals, but when the machine's already working and it's already got a purpose, you might as well use it. So that kind of just helps us always be growing in that right direction. But then when you see those apartment complexes or those big package of houses that not many people can fund or manage or take down, that's when we really saw some growth. I think from 2020, like right after everybody realized COVID wasn't the end of the world and like the world was going to keep turning and like real estate started really booming from that time. So maybe mid 2000 to 2022. So about 18 months, maybe 16 months, 17 months, about like over $20 million worth of real estate. So that's where the biggest part of that hockey stick was. And that was that 42 pack. That was, I think, 4 of the 6 apartment complexes. So that's where, deals are out there to be had. We had plenty of private lender money. We had proof of concept. We had banking relationships built, and money was cheap. So that's when we really took advantage of it. And this last year, we have not added near as many just because it's a lot harder to get them.
Yep. No doubt about it. I mean, that's a big part of most people's journeys and their stories is the right timing. There's a right time for flipping houses. There's a right time for buying rentals. There's a right time for wholesaling. All those different types of strategies. There is a right time. Now you can find deals in every of those respective areas at any given time. No doubt about it. But there are better times than others. So the timing of that for you was killer on that. We found the same thing, like over the past 2 years, like we really haven't added that many units to our portfolio. I didn't start buying rentals until 5 years ago. And the first 2.5 years was really when I bought the majority of them, just like a handful since, and that's because we were focused on the opportunity that we had to, convert and have more cash in the bank and do more wholesaling and flipping. So dude,
yeah, that's yeah. Oh, real quick, I was going to say that's the beautiful thing about real estate is there's always options. You said it perfectly, but every single market in the country you can make money in. Just certain strategies work better in certain markets. Every single economic cycle you can make money in. Just certain strategies work better in certain economic cycles. So just being agile and just taking advantage of what you're given. Real estate allows you all of those options: fast cap, novation, sub 2, owner finance. Like you can make any deal work at any time if you get creative enough and if you're agile enough. And I always tell people, I'm not going to let like some external forces like the government, like wars across the world, like money costs. I'm not going to let something external decide whether I create wealth or not. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to figure it out whether headwinds or tailwinds because I'm in real estate and I'm willing to adapt. So that's one of the few, if not the only industry that allows you to have that much adaptability. So didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to piggyback off the great point you made.
No, dude, I'm so glad you did. That was like a huge nugget drop right there, man. Guys, you gotta adjust and adapt, right? But don't let anyone else or anything else get in your way of your own success. There's always a way to navigate and come out as a win, no matter what the situation is. So I think that's such a huge nugget there for everybody. All right. So we talked about your journey to getting the rentals. We talked about the flipping business and the active income. What I've seen over the past several years and how I even knew about you was social media. Okay. Now we just so happened to meet each other in person at a mastermind too recently, which was super cool. Because again, you'd been like on my radar and somebody who I'd been watching and like admiring like what you're doing and like taking notes. 2.7 million people on social media through the different platforms that are connected and watching you. How did that even come about? Was that like something you wanted to do? Did you want to be a social media star and personality, or like Is that just part of the strategy? Like, how did that even come about? Where did it start? How did you get good at it?
Yeah, it took a long time, and it honestly just kind of fell into my lap. So I remember specifically in 2019, we were buying a 12-unit apartment complex with a little self-storage facility on the back. And I posted about it on my like personal Facebook page. I'd been posting, I don't know, maybe once a month just about what I was doing, and would have like, high school or college buddies ask me questions in the DMs and just kind of garner some interest. And then when I did that one, I just remember my inbox absolutely flooded with people asking questions and wanting to learn more. And about that same time, somebody that I kind of know published a book on the Burr method. And they had done like 5 burrs, and I had done probably 95 at that time. And I'm just like putting that information out there. I'm sure it's good information, but like taking advantage of this education space and getting in front of people with very, very limited actual knowledge on it just kind of was like, well, maybe I should go ahead and do this because I have way more experience than most of the people I see out here talking about it. So that's when I decided, hey, I will start to put content out there to try to educate people. So early 2020, I launched a YouTube channel and spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and was getting 13 views, 19 views, a whopping 84 views. So my goal was to just get eyeballs on social media. And my initial goal was to create a YouTube channel and create YouTube videos that were like rental properties that I would just passively make money on. And, every single YouTube video I put out would make me $400 every single month, just like a rental property. So that was honestly my initial goal, was to grow a YouTube channel. That was it. Well, I sucked at it, and I still suck at it to this day. So I started making, started an Instagram channel probably mid 2020. And then later in 2020, I saw somebody post a video on TikTok about the Burr method, and they got like 200,000 views. And that was like mind-boggling to me to think about getting that many views on an app that's about dancing and girls' butts. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll get into TikTok now. And the goal was to grow an audience on those platforms, Instagram and TikTok, and push them to YouTube. That was the entire purpose of those platforms at first. But then I started to get decent at short form content. I worked at it really hard, posted and analyzed like crazy, and was a psychopath and a lunatic, went live all the time. And those audience started to really, really grow. And then I started to really gain some traction and some following and and a brand around that. And that's kind of when my focus switched from just YouTube to growing a brand on all platforms. So that kind of snowballed into, and it hasn't really been that long. It's been a little over 3 years now. And just continuing to push through, continuing to not get frustrated when you put a lot of time and effort into a video that doesn't get views. And then you get those quick hits of dopamine with those viral type videos that do pretty well, and just kind of see the results. It's a lot like sports. It's not every job you can track and see the score of the game. I can see immediate reactions of how the video does, how many DMs I get, how many likes it gets, and I can compare it and try to get better and be my best competition and try to get better every single day at that specific app. So that's kind of the genesis story. It wasn't like the goal wasn't to have this many followers or to even have an education brand or paid community. That was not at all the goal. That kind of all started from posting a little bit, getting some reactions, and not being like most people that post on social media.
Yeah. Well, what I love about it is, you look at I'm on it right now. I'm looking at your page. You've got some of these videos have millions of views. Some of them have millions of views. If you think about how hard it is to get millions of views, and then regularly, instead of your 13 or 20 views, your average is like tens of thousands of views, and then lots of hundreds of thousands of views, which is pretty crazy. Do you feel like you figured out the algorithm type of thing? Like what is your strategy on how you approach social media? And this is kind of get into the X's and O's, because I've heard different people talk very specific about their strategy. Like, these are the type of videos I make. This is the way that I make them. This is how I grab people's attention. This is how they go viral. Do you have any secret sauce that people like me can hear?
I do, to a certain degree. I feel like, yes. I feel like when we met, I was like riding high, Mr. Cool Cat. That was when the algorithm switches and kind of moves around a little bit. At that variation of the algorithm, I had on deck. I think in August of this year, I think we talked about it. I don't know if I had the full, but I think I ended up rounding out. I think I got 14 million free organic views on social media, gained like 75,000 followers in 1 month on Instagram, and just everything was popping. And as you know, everything was going there. TikTok was doing decent. YouTube was doing, everything was just hitting really, really well. I went from like maybe like 13,000 on Facebook to like 200,000 on Facebook in like a month. So things were just blowing up. I was like, I got this figured out. Y'all come to me for the advice. And then things just, I wouldn't say they crashed and burned, but as you can see, we're back to a little bit more reality now, getting 500 to 1,000 followers a day on Instagram, and the other platforms slowly growing with some, the floor is higher than it used to be, but the floor still can be pretty low, especially on TikTok, as far as the baseline views you get. So, yes, I've got some of it figured out to a certain degree, but then the algorithm changes and my attention goes on other things, and things just kind of fall between the cracks. Every time I leave for somewhere, I come back and I'm not as involved in social media when I'm gone as I am with the team. I got a small team that I'm very, very involved in, but when I'm gone, I'm not. Things tend to slide a little bit. But in general, I'll get into some X's and O's about what has worked for me. So I used to try to make my videos like Ryan Pineda or like Kong or like some of my buddies that I know that do well on social media, and they never seem to hit because I'm just not them, and my delivery is different, and I'm not a Filipino Ken doll like Ryan Pineda, and I don't have this crazy, loud, charismatic, everybody look at me personality like Kong. So if I try to do that, it comes off as very, very inauthentic and not who I am. So what I started to do that really seemed to get traction for me was I just made videos how I wanted to make them. I walked down the stairs with one shoe on and got, millions of views. I think I have, we counted, I think I have like over 70 videos that have over 1 million views across the platforms. And it's just, they're all simple, me being me, not talking and having words pop up over my head, or, just walking around and talking about how much debt I'm in. So just the consistently putting out authentic content and not trying to copy other people's styles, other people's delivery, other people's ideas. And there's always a little bit, see an idea, make it your own. That's fine. But that's what's really, really worked for me. Every time I see a viral video and try to recreate it, it does not seem to work. So being myself, being authentic, and consistently putting out content is the overall arching thing that has gotten me through highs, lows, algorithm pushes, algorithm pullbacks, all the happens on social media, because it is crazy to see the different swings when I'm in it and look at the analytics every day. As far as what works for me, the blueprint that makes decent to good to viral videos, it works like most other people, and that's going to be a strong hook. I usually, whether I'm talking or not, 2 lines, maybe 3. So I'm talking like, 2 or 3 words, not a whole paragraph for somebody to read as they're scrolling, and not like just like 1 word, just like 2 words above my, or 2 lines above my head, a sentence about what the video is about, a hooky sentence with slight camera movement to stop the scroll as people are scrolling through between sports takes and comedians and booty shakes and their friends, and you need to stop them. So just general slight camera movements with limited editing. Talked to my editors. We had a conversation today for half an hour. Every single time he edits and wants to add more zhuzh to it, as we call it, it does not do as well. The simpler videos do better. Like we did a breakdown. He did, I think in September, he edited like 25 videos, and he got like, I'm going to say like maybe like 800,000 views on those 25 videos. I edited 10 videos and got 3 million views from my 10 videos. So, and I'm not an editor. So just the simple editing seems to work. And I've seen people like Ryan and even Gary Vee and Hermosi, all these people with these huge staffs and huge budgets, they are focusing more, and I've heard them talk about simple works over complex. People don't want to overthink. Somebody that's super smart doesn't want to have to flex their brain muscle when they're on social media. And somebody that's not super smart doesn't want to be confused. So that simple little clean style really, really works. Get their attention, deliver value, don't flex on cars and all that stuff like everybody does. And eventually you will make it work. It might take time. Took me months and months to get any traction. And it's harder today than it was when I got started because of the saturation of the space. But continue to put it out and talk about your story, and eventually you'll get there. So, just the more impactful and the shorter you can make it, in my opinion, the better.
Yeah. Well, dude, what you said exactly is what got my attention. Watching your videos, like for a long while, this is kind of funny to say out loud. For a long while, I didn't even know what you sounded like. I didn't even know what your voice sounded like because your videos that I kept seeing over
Not
and
very cool
over again.
voice.
I like you better without talking, man. Can you just go back to not? No, I'm joking. But honestly, like I wasn't following you, so I wasn't seeing all of your content. I was getting recommended your content as I was scrolling. And then I would see your videos that were going the most viral, and they were the ones of you not talking. And they always, like you said, would grab my attention. They were like a pattern interrupt. And it was a hooky thing at the very beginning that caught my attention, like saying how much debt you were in. And it was like, it caused an emotional like reaction for me to want to know, well, what's next? Well, what happened? So it was really, really clever for you to do that. And I'm going to try out some of your videos. Like I'm going to try to make some and see, like, can I make my own version of that? Cause obviously I can't recreate the same thing, but like, can I have my own version of a pattern interrupt that's not like your super flashy, super this and that, look how great I am type video. Right. So, but that's what I like. Cause not only are they interesting cause they're different, but they're also educational because they grab your interest and they bring you in. So that's what I love. So the social media thing, would you say has been like once that took off after 2020, 2021, would you say you saw your business grow substantially as a result?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it doesn't affect my flipping company a ton because, all these apps are national. We just buy, here in St. Louis. It's helped a little bit. We've gotten leads from it for sure and had people offer private money that we don't really need at this current time. We got a good private lender pool, but the education business, my goodness. Yeah, it's been everything. Like 80% of our signups for a while were organic through social media. They know, they like you, they trust you, they understand you have that credibility. So it's much higher going to pay you money to educate them via just an ad that they see. As me and you talked about earlier, you're not doing a ton of ads yet. For sure, your conversion rate's going to definitely go down once you bring the ads into it. But it really helped get that base level of a following, gives you that credibility, and it just kind of springboards everything. Ads do better if you have a social media presence than, hey, I saw him on, they just work so well together. Hey, I saw your social media. I've been following you. Oh, you had a community because I don't talk about it very much. So they saw the ad. Okay, yeah, for sure. Get involved because I know you have it. And then there's people that see the ads that are, my ads are very much like my posts, grabs their attention like, oh, I'll go follow this guy because I learned something from that ad as well as got pitched at the end, of course. But they work really, really well together, and it's really, really exploded the business, the branding business, and social media is a huge part of that. But there comes a point where, and I'm going through this right now, where it's not just about social media. Like I just focused on social media and growing a following for the better part of the last 3 years. That's been my sole focus because that's all I knew what to do. And I know that it's good to have eyeballs, right? But what I haven't focused as much on is that branding aspect. Like you said, you just kind of saw me. It wasn't enough to get you to follow right away. You just saw me for a while, but eventually you followed. So growing that brand is completely different. And I'm realizing that right now on podcasts, what you're doing is a huge part of it. Like I have more followers than Ryan Pineda. And I was just at his office, but he's got a much bigger brand than me. Shoot, I think I just passed that more followers than Pace Morby. He's got a 10, 25 times bigger brand than I do.
Following.
So yes, Cole, very much so. And so it's not just about that social media, right? Like it's good and almost bad. So now I am actually pumping the brakes on social media and revving the engine on branding and trying to grow that community. So I will not grow as much on social media, but I will grow my brand, and that's more powerful. To help more people, impact more people, you need a brand. You can't just get an eyeballs on TikTok when somebody, is scrolling through, 150 videos in their session in the bathroom while they're sitting down, if you know what I'm saying. So you need to get more of a strong connection than just a 15-second video. So that's what I'm working on, and that's what it's been good to get that base level social media, but there's a lot more to it than just that.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I think that's really, really good perspective because that's something that I've been reflecting on a lot. Is as I've been building my coaching program is the community aspect, the brand of the community is more important than almost anything else, because if you have a good brand identity for the community, then that's how you get the cult following like a Pace Morby, right? Jameel Damji. The people who want to wear, like Ryan Pineda, wearing a wealthy t-shirt. People know about the name, the brand, the association, but just the community itself they want to be a part of. So that to me, I think is a huge thing for myself that I'm working on. So that's awesome. Well, dude, what's like the next exciting thing? Do you have any like crazy goals that you're chasing after? Do you have any fun side hustles that you're adding into the mix? Or are you staying laser focused, trying to get things even more dialed in and refined? Where are you at in your journey right now?
Yeah, so a little bit of mixture of both. So I definitely don't want to have that shiny object syndrome. So the three companies we mentioned earlier, now they all have, and it's been like that for about a year, but super strong leadership. There's a COO of education. You met him down at the mastermind, Matt. So he runs the show. Everything goes through him. We got a COO of our flipping company and a COO of our like rental portfolio and our management company. We manage our own rentals. So we have strong leadership in those areas that does allow me to kind of stretch my wings and try new things a little bit. I hadn't been doing that a ton because we didn't have that in place. And, Luke's and I were kind of doing a little bit of everything. But now that we have strong leadership in place that allows us to take our eye off of those balls and focus on other things, we've been doing some new things. Like a cool project we're working on right now is we bought a small like boutique island in Branson, Missouri, which is kind of like rednecks Vegas kind of thing here in southern Missouri. So it's a lot of people go there. It's like a town of 6,000 people that like 4 million people travel to a year kind of thing. So we got that. We're finishing that up soon. That's new for us. Those are going to be all short-term rentals, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1-bedroom, really nice little resort. We're putting a lot of money into it. It's going to be like high-end boutique type stuff. So that's fun and cool and should help with cash flow. And then just kind of helping grow this education brand. There's so much in this space. There is like, it's an endless amount of people you can help, money you can make in this branding and social media thing. So I'm kind of going to focus on, growing the brand and then also growing the community and then growing other products and then potentially looking into, we already started this company, but, and we have actually a leader in place in this company, but it's called InvestLoop, like an investing private equity company. So wealth is created through equity and assets, and I'm creating my wealth through equity and real estate assets. But you can create even more wealth through equity in businesses. So we're going to be funneling some of our money and already are into like an the day-to-day, but buy equities of companies or buy companies that are selling or going out of business that have an operator in place or potential operator in place and grow that. So that's a whole nother ball of wax, but that's something that we're starting to dip our toes into here a little bit. That's going to be fun and exciting, I think.
Dude, heck yeah. Lots of fun stuff. Well, dude, it's been so great to have you on.
I didn't mention, I've interrupted you twice now. I think there's a delay. Real quick, you said big, crazy goals. $1 billion in real estate, $1 billion annual organization, and owning an NBA team. So those are my three big long-term goals.
There we go. There they
are. Had to throw them out there. I forgot about them. I get. That's why I suck at YouTube, because I just go down all these stupid rabbit holes and mumble and talk. So that's why short form makes me be concise. But anyways, I forgot that part. Just throwing some big goals out there, putting them out there in the universe and see what happens.
I love that, dude. You got the size too, dude. You could be out there halftime getting some dunks in and showing off to the crowd and everything.
I would pull something so quick if I tried to dunk. I used to be able to, not anymore. I'd be lucky to grab the net these days. But yes, I could jump off a trampoline in the outfit of the mascot and dunk it.
There we go. We'll get you in the trampoline. Well, dude, it's been so great to have you on. It's been good to learn more about your story. Guys, if you're looking to connect with Sam, go find him on social media, Sam Faster Freedom. So much good content. Not only is it entertaining, but lots of incredible information that can change your life. You guys can also take it further and connect with him at fasterfreedom.com. All the education around how you can start buying rentals and building wealth that way. So, dude, been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And thanks for being on, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. Till next time, guys. Peace.